The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So welcome to our webinar Import Workflows in MicroSurvey CAD. Coming to you live from our home offices in British Columbia are James Johnston, myself, and my colleague Jaron Hopp, our product manager, or our desktop product manager. Jaron will be doing the main presentation, and I'll be watching the chat line if you have any questions. And at times, Jaron's going to pause, and I'll just relay questions that you ask to him. Or if we miss your question, we'll follow up with an email later on. Welcome, Jaron, and go ahead and get started.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here this morning, or it may even be afternoon, depending on where you are, I guess. Just wanted to get in front of you and do a quick little webinar, kind of what to expect when you're importing files into MicroSurvey CAD. We're going to try and do a little bit of a series with this, maybe go through a little bit of a workflow front to back to just try and offer up some advice, answer some questions for people who might have things like that. As James mentioned, my name is Jaron Hopfe. I'm the desktop survey product manager here at MicroSurvey. I've been here for approximately 2 years, a little bit less than that now. And yes, this is my shameless showing off my daughter and picture of myself. So if you hear little people in the background, I have 3 of them, so I do apologize for that. And that's what's going on there. On the line as well is James. He is the support and training manager. Oh, come on. I hope you can't see that, but that is my daughter on the Kids Messenger app on Facebook sending me notifications.
I'm having a laugh, Jaron.
James is probably the guy or one of the guys that you'll talk to if you call in for support at MicroSurvey. They will help you through any problems that you're having, including some of the ones that we can go over here today. So to start, MicroSurvey CAD is a brand neutral solution. That means we import several different file formats. We can import from Leica, Trimble, Field Genius, Carlson, and several more like Sukia, Nikon, Geotometer, that sort of thing, as well as CSV files and other text-based formats. This is really useful for if you have many types of survey equipment and field software packages with your crews. Maybe you allow your crews to buy their own GPS equipment and rent it back to your company or something like that. That is a good way that you can do that and still import all of that data. Some of the expectations when you're importing field data into MicroSurvey CAD. Each import is going to create a new traverse file, or you can append it to an existing traverse file. What this traverse file will allow you to do is you can take that data from several sources and you can use it within your project as smart data, not just CSV points. So with that, you can edit that traverse data and you can recoordinate the traverse after editing that data. You can even manually enter a traverse if you have somebody who's field booked all of their data. And again, with the new scanners like the Leica MS60 that will import a point cloud with the file, you can recoordinate that scan with your traverse recoordination after you've done like a least squares adjustment or a compass rule adjustment or something like that, just to try and get everything in the best possible position. What you see on the right here is the active traverse editor, and that is part of the program that you can use to edit that information. As well, all of the data file imports go through our AutoMap system, and that includes these CSV points. This is our field to finish solution where you can connect points with lines, customize your layers and colors, insert symbols at your points, and do automatic scaling and rotation as you insert. So when you import your points, these are the things that you can set up to have it all bring it in automatically, drawing your lines and stuff. Again, since we're brand neutral, this is a powerful solution because it doesn't require your specific hardware to run a specific field to finish solution in order to operate with it. Our imports will all run through this. I want to go through some popular import formats here based on some of the feedback that I've gotten from you guys on the survey when you signed up for the webinar. Starting with Leica DBX. MicroSurvey CAD operates with a SDK, or a software development kit, directly from Leica Geosystems. Since we are owned by Hexagon, this is one of the benefits here. This offers the best DBX compatibility for your CAD software. We can import anything that's included in that DBX file. That means any of the lines, points, images, etc. from your Captivate projects will get imported into MicroSurvey CAD. As of 2020 Service Pack 1, we've actually included attributes as well. So here, I'll click through and you'll see. When you start to import a Leica DBX, this is the dialog you're going to see. As you can see, you can toggle on and off point protection, line work, and so on. What the point protection does is it prevents overwriting existing points, or it will at least ask you what to do with them as they come up. So if you're importing multiple projects that have similar control points, or maybe you had a crew that accidentally named them all the same as something else, you can cancel importing that. You can choose to rename them, you can choose to overwrite them, average them, and so on as you go. Processing the line work allows you to bring in your line work directly from that Captivate project, and a scale factor check. We'll just check that on the import and make sure that it matches. Displaying the measurement file after import is the traverse editor that I had mentioned before. And auto-naming that measurement file will just take your Captivate project and automatically name the traverse file after that on import, rather than having another dialog pop up to choose to name it. You can choose to show a summary of the import. You can choose to process your scans or your point clouds as you import them, or if you're looking to save time and you don't really need that with what you're doing, you can choose to have that turned off. Images will bring the images directly into your points as attributes as well. And processing the code list will take your code list out of your Captivate project and process it as an AutoMap file within MicroSurvey CAD. If we click on the Advanced button, you can set your geoid path and your coordinate system path here. These are paths to those specific files on your, or folders containing those files on your computer that you may have used as a custom object within your project on your Captivate device. The default line work layer and default line work connection options I've found can be a little bit confusing for some people, but they are really what to do with that information if it's not preset in the job. So say you've chosen to connect points with lines between certain ones or whatever by code, but you never actually specified what color those are supposed to be or layer they're supposed to be, or things like that. That's what it'll bring it in on and how it'll process it.
You've characterized it well, Jaron.
Oh, thank you. The segment length for the curvy lines and 3D arcs. This is actually kind of important to watch as well. If you've got a project that has a lot of curves in it, this will allow you to either import them as longer segments or shorter segments, kind of based on your computing power, how accurate you'd like to show them, how many line type or line segments you'd actually like to create. It doesn't currently bring them in as an arc per se. With those object types, the curvy lines and 3D arcs come in with line segments. So it's just because IntelliCAD doesn't handle 3D arcs, so we need to draw them that way. You can set up your AutoMap system manually here as well. Say you didn't want to process the code list on the previous file, you can go in and select your AutoMap system, one you've already got set up or whatever from there. Something I didn't mention before is after importing, you can actually click a button on the AutoMap that will detect all of the different codes within your project, and you can start setting up your AutoMap that way. Sorry, and that just ensures you don't miss anything within the project. As I had mentioned before, you can bring in your attributes from your DBX projects now as well. This is something that I'd like to build out more, but for right now, it's only with the Leica DBX projects. On the left here, you can see a project from Heerbrugg in Switzerland, from Leica's home office over there. This was brought in from a Captivate project, and that was really just kind of click import and click OK a couple of times to get that in. On the right is one of the images out of that project, and you can activate or you can access that out of the active coordinate editor, which is our point list basically. At Trimble Job XML, we are able to import these files. It's a simple import process though. Likewise, the AutoMap file is created, or is applied, sorry, and the Traverse file is created. So when you click on the button there for importing the Trimble Job XML, it'll just ask you to browse to that file location, select the file, and then it'll create the traverse. All of these traverses are able to be shown graphically within the program, and I can show you that after if you want, but when you import a file, it doesn't show all of the line work between points. It will only show the points in your project. If you choose to show the line work representing the measurements to those points, you are able to do that after and show it on a separate layer so you can turn it on and off, but it won't muddle up your project when you first import it. Carlson, we are able to import Carlson through the RW5 importer. This is the TDS RW5 importer, but as it is an RW5 file type, we're able to bring it in. Again, it's a simple import. You click the button and you'll get the dialog here that says to import which file type. You choose the RW5 on the left. And actually, I was finding that you need to select the type of file prior to it showing up, otherwise it will select a raw file. So you just click the little drop down, click RW5, and then you can pick your RW5 project. And since this is Carlson, I'll bring this up here. Something you'll see sometimes when you're importing into your project is this little warning down here that will let you know that the project was completed in a different set of units than what your current project is in. It'll allow you to convert the drawing units to match the incoming data, or you can choose to cancel and change your settings. FieldGenius is our in-house field software solution. Therefore, this works typically the best. Not that any one of them works particularly poorly, but this is where we would have the best compatibility between our field and office software. We have a separate importer for FieldGenius data called the Sync Wizard. This will actually allow you to browse to a project folder where you can select a project out of that. You can use the AutoMap directly from the field software. So this will be what your crew used in the field. They will have created all of the line work with this AutoMap field to finish solution in the field, and you can use that same AutoMap in your project to get exactly the same results as they were seeing in the field. You also could notice a checkbox there where you can automatically archive your Field Genius project after importing, and that'll just zip it up so that you know that it's done and completed and you're done with that file. We have cleaned up this dialog. This used to display 4 dialogues on import, and now we have made it so that it's just this one dialog on the left with the import button. But if you click on the options, you'll still be able to set up the other files and defaults that you previously could in the other dialogues. So you've got an archive location where you can put your zip file. Say you've got an archive directory for where to store your projects when you're done with them. You can automatically back up your current drawing, change or automatically name your traverse files, same as the Leica DBX, and any notes in the file can be appended to the description of the points in that project. Just like in the Leica DBX, you can set your default line work layer and your default line work connection options, and the segment length for those curvy lines and 3D arcs. The import toggle check, this is where you can set your point protection, and you can choose to translate your descriptions as you import them. Sorry. When importing with Field Genius with your toggles here, you can choose to draw or not draw each of these CAD drawing controls, like the point identifiers, descriptions, nodes, and elevations as you import. So you can really only show, or so you can choose to show the objects that you want to see there. And likewise, you can set up the AutoMap system again. Same as with Leica DBX, you can import a point cloud scan from Field Genius projects. And what that does here is it creates a XML file, just like out of a Leica device. And we'll import that as the point cloud. Some of you asked to see how to import a CSV into MicroSurvey CAD. This is typically how you would do this in something like AutoCAD. But I wouldn't see people necessarily using this for your field files in MicroSurvey CAD because there isn't usually the necessity for it. But that being said, CSVs are very common and passed around a lot as data. This is point import only. It doesn't include any of that measurement data. And the delimited format is going to be the most common format. We have 4 different formats. That'd be coordinates delimited and the lat long delimited are going to be typically the way you'll go. Here is the coordinates delimited dialog here. You can choose to import in several different formats on the left side there, whether that's PNEZD or PENZD. Those are kind of the most common ones you're going to see, and COMR space delimited on the right. You can choose to store those coordinates in your COGO database. So that means that would be what uses the point protection and the active coordinate editor and that sort of thing. If you turn that off, you're just going to be importing CAD points. And for certain things, like say you got a file from an engineer that you don't really need to import as survey points in your project, you'd uncheck that and you can just draw off those points that way. But I would recommend any files that you've got coming from the field, import those into the COGO database so that you get all of that, the benefit of the point protection and scaling your points when you change project scales and that sort of thing. You can choose to add an additive number. So this would be good for projects that are on multiple days. So say you've got a project on day 1 and your crew chief uses points 1 to 1,000. You can add 10,000 to that. So you've got 10,001 to 10,000, 1,000, or to 11,000, sorry. and then the next day add 20,000, and then so on. So you can separate those those points out by project. You can import a range limit. So for example, if you've got control points from 0.1 to 100, and then everything else is from 101 onwards, import a range from 101 to a million, and then you're not going to get those control points every time. Something that I think is really cool with the CSV import or the ASCII import in MicroSurvey CAD is this option to do a coordinate transformation on import. So for example, you've got a crew that is working in an area and they've done all their work in UTM-3 or whatever, and your project is in UTM-4. With the field files, it's going to recognize that the project is in a different coordinate system, and warn you about that and try and fix it. With the CSV, it's dummy data. It doesn't know that, but you know that. So you can apply a coordinate transformation. So your input horizontal system is going to be the horizontal system and, sorry, the vertical system of the CSV file itself. So you'd put in your UTM-3 there and say you're using HT2 for your geoid. You can use those there. And then choose your output horizontal system for UTM-4 and CGVD 13 or whatever. Just allows you to change those points on import, and I think that's really handy. The lat long format options are very similar here, but when you're choosing your import horizontal system, make sure you're choosing one of the ones that's the LL. In this case, LL stands for lat long 84, so that's your WGS 84 coordinate system. If you choose another horizontal system here, you're going to get an error and it won't import properly. And the COGO vertical system is your project vertical system, so that's what your current COGO settings are, and the file vertical systems are what's coming in from the CSV file here. I'm only going to show you the one dialog for the column specific import. I don't see this one used very much, and it seems a little strange to me, but if it's something you'd like to try, go for it. You can set your starting column here where, say for example, your point number starts at setting 1 in a text file, and you're expecting that field for that point number to be 10 characters wide. Then you can set up your, in this case, latitude or longitude or northern or eastern or whatever to start at another, say the 11th or the 12th space along that text file and set a width for it. To me, this feels very customizable and good for utilities where somebody's creating their own kind of file export, or maybe you've got a program that just creates some kind of a strange text file export and you need to set it up this way. It at least allows you to customize it for that. I don't know, James, maybe you can speak to more on that one, but I haven't seen a lot of use of that.
I was at one point going to jump in and say, you know what, Jaron, I've been here for 13 years and nobody's ever asked me how this works.
Okay, there we go.
We have lots of flexibility. That's all we can say.
Yeah. I had some people ask about seeing how to import a land XML. It's not necessarily a field file format, but it's very commonly used. And really all that is just a command in the program, land XML in. There is a button along the ribbon for it as well. And it'll import and you'll see a dialog just like you'd expect to see in AutoCAD. It'll show you the different alignments, parcels and surfaces and whatever else profiles you've got in your land XML file and import them into the appropriate places in the program. Something that's new, I believe it was MicroSurvey CAD 2019 Service Pack 1. we can import DGN files. This is something that IntelliCAD had been working on. So if you've got some MicroStation projects, you can import those and work on them directly in MicroSurvey CAD. Say your engineering department works with MicroStation. There you go. And others wanted to see AutoCAD drawing. MicroSurvey CAD works natively in the DWG format. There's really no reason to need to import it. You just open it up in MicroSurvey CAD and it works just fine that way. You can drag and drop your DXF files into the program or use the DXF in command. Unfortunately, we currently don't support the AutoCAD fieldbook format. If we had a whole bunch of requests for something like that, I'm sure that's something we can look at. I believe it is just a text-based format and not overly difficult to work with, but I don't think that's an overly used format. But hey, if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm happy to help you. Any questions? Sorry, I know this was short, but just trying to touch base.
I've only got one question, Jaron. And
All right.
somebody asked if you might be willing to do a little demo of an import.
Yeah, sure.
Have you got one handy?
Yep.
That'd be a good way to tie it up.
All right.
And by the way, while he's opening this up, I'll let everyone know we are recording this webinar. So we'll send you an email with a link to the webinar. And anybody who's missed the webinar, we'll send them a link as well.
You might have noticed that I'm running in trial mode here. Currently sitting in my bedroom at home while I'm remoting into my office at work. So I've got my my USB key here at home. So. Okay, I'll import that that here Brug project so that you can see it and how that works. Okay, on the MS Traverse panel is where we're going to see most of the importers. Over in MS Points is where you're going to find the import ASCII points. And right here is where you're going to find all of those importers for those field file formats. Right here up at the top, we have the Leica DBX. And you can browse to your folder location, but that's already set up on this one from my work in here before. Under Advanced, this is where you can click on those different options. Say we've got something else that we want to call a different layer here. Oops, too many S's. Let's make a new layer. I personally have a bit of an internal conflict over this here. I'm not sure if using a single polyline is better or using broken up lines is better, because you can remove individual segments a lot easier with this lines, but growing up with AutoCAD, I like the polylines. So that's just me. You can choose to do whatever you like.
The comment that I'd make about the polyline question is, I think you're going to be thinking about whether you want to use those lines primarily for, display in plan view, or whether you want to use those lines for brake lines.
Yeah.
And of course, for that's only the default behavior as well. Lots of people sort of have their AutoMap set up so that it either draws 2D if you just want them to be Kogo lines, or 3D if you want them to be brake lines.
Exactly. Sorry, we're just waiting for it to import the point cloud here. Point cloud import is very fast in MicroSurvey CAD compared to other packages. I'm quite happy about that. It uses the Leica Cyclone software development kit as well in order to do that. You can see on my screen here, though, the blue dotted line down the center line of the road. That's the one that I set up in there. Here we have the Traverse editor, as I had mentioned. This was done by the Swiss, so they spell curb funny. But this is what that looks like in here. We've got all of our total station shots in there. The other ones up here, that's the GPS shots.
Got a resection there.
Yep. You can choose to recoordinate the traverse if that's something you'd like to do after maybe making some modifications, or adjust your scans. That's the point clouds, so that they match that new traverse.
Oh, there's that point cloud.
Yeah, there's the point cloud there. There's our default line type that I created, and I believe this is going to be the same thing, except I think that was brought in as a 3D polyline from the Captivate project, which is why it won't show as the dotted. Oops, sorry, let me turn my 3D point labels on. And there's all of that data brought in.
And I think this one's got quite a few images in the coordinate editor, hasn't it?
Yes, I will open up the coordinate editor and show you that in just a second. I just wanted to show this show traverse graphically.
Oh, go for it.
So this is where you can draw in all of those side shots and traverse lines in your project. So what it's wanting me to do here is click to show which side to show my my distance, or my bearing on. Sorry, and it'll ask for the distance. So this is our auto labeling routine. If you run into this and you don't want to show those, just over in your hot toggles here, turn off your distance and bearing options. Oops, hit enter too many times. And there, all of that information has been drawn in here. Under MS points, we can go to the active coordinate editor.
Oh, I'm not wrong. I thought this one had lots of pictures.
There's a few pictures. So in this column here, we've got this new tag here. This is the attributes that you can see for each point. And if you click over here, you can see the image associated with each point as well. You can get at these individually from the points also. But I'm gonna have to find a point that is a tree point. Where did that one go?
So Jaron just double clicked on that column to get it to center on that point.
And then I promptly lost it.
Oops.
Oh, come on. Let's make this a little smaller. Trouble from working with home and only one screen. That's point number 330. There it is. So from that point here, we can click on the tag to get the attribute. We can click on the, oh no, that one doesn't have an image associated with it. Sorry. If it had
You're showing the right icon. Yep.
Yep. If it had an image associated with it, you'd be able to click there and see that. From here, we've got point history, so you can see any modifications done to that point and so on. But we'll leave that for another webinar. And this is how to import a Leica DBX project into MicroSurvey CAD.
Thanks, Jaron. Thanks for being adaptable and doing an on-the-fly demo.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, then I'll just tie things up. Thank you, everybody, for attending. As I had mentioned before, we'll send out a recording of the webinar. So if you have any colleagues who missed it, you can forward that on to them, or you'll know that if they registered, they'll be getting an invitation to view the recording. Next week, my colleague Ken Fossey is going to be doing another webinar on our field products. So have a look in the follow-up email and we'll give you a chance to log in and view that one as well. Thanks very much, Jaron. I enjoyed your presentation.
Thanks, James. And thank you, everybody else.
Have a good day, everyone.